we have a quiz program. Obviously, our quiz master is very known to everybody. Our deputy city coordinator training, Mr. Sujit Singh. And then there will be one interactive session with our general chairman, Sahodaya School Complex. And then a small, small learning item which is called well-being will be held, and then we'll proceed like that. I think everyone has this program sheet with them in their envelope. Let's go. Happy Sandeep Arde to Paris and take over the chat.
Thanks, the core committee members to invite me for this training program on a topic which all of us are aware of, and we've been dealing with it for I think more than 30 years, 25 years as principals or as secretaries or chairman of the schools. This entire discussion that is going to happen, just let me give you a little background why we need this. With the new normal which has stepped in, schools the way that has been functioning, we will have to look back and check if we are at the right place, and do we have all the resources. I do understand that this room also has principals from DAV schools or schools which are sponsored or taking care of the management, especially is somebody else, other governing bodies. However, we also have a room which has got a mix of people who've started the schools with their sweat and blood, building brick by brick, classroom to classroom, student to student, parents to parents. So this session about the school administration is something which is just going to refresh. There's nothing new to learn. Of course, yes, there would be a few changes that we would be looking forward to as to what we're supposed to do in the new situation. So, the new situation, first of all, for myself, being a principal to moving into training, learning and development with Wipro Technologies, just happened 4 months ago. This is something which was calling, and I always wanted to be a trainer for a very, very long time. So, I've now moved into US healthcare. So my work timings have also changed, because of which I could not respond to a lot of messages, was not communicating with all of you, and I really apologize for that. However, you have a new principal coming in soon. So to start with, we have this program called the Admin Login in schools. So starting from our school managing committee to the body which governs the school. So we'll be talking about the different levels of how instruction will go on. So so we have identified 5 levels. Level 1, where it's your teachers. So first of all, I would want to know from all of you, who are the stakeholders that we work for? So if I can get some thoughts, who are the stakeholders, or why are we here as principals sitting in this room? So who would be our stakeholders? Parents, students, teachers, staff, members of the society. Thank you, sir, for generalizing that. Because each one of us, we are in a business where we make men, or we make people, or create a generation. So ours is not a very technical industry, but yes, it is a very scientific industry, because each and every step that we take is very, very calculated. So this is why the admin login, or the person who's taking care of that password or that key, is so crucial, playing such a crucial role in our entire system. So what are we going to talk about? I'm going to talk about a story called the burning platform. This was also used by Nokia. Remember, we used to use Nokia phones? Now we use Samsung, iPhones, the other Oppo or the other phones, and Nokia is now becoming obsolete, but now coming back again. So how did Nokia come back, and how did we, and how is it related to our industry? Because we are also right now, currently, each one of us would agree, in the education system in our country, we are standing on a burning platform. We don't know how many students are there in our junior schools. exact numbers, so we still come up with something called the screen freeze. So your student will be shown attentive, but actually he or she is not attentive. So that is also a feature which is added. So the next point that we have is the organizational structure. So what is the structure that we look at? When it comes to the management, when it comes to your position in that management, your decision making skills. So these are the things that we will be talking about. Functions and responsibilities of the school managing committee, the principal, and there's a questionnaire. So questionnaire is not going to be very difficult. It's something that will just reiterate or help us rethink as principals, are we doing the right things, or I hope I'm not doing all the things which I'm not supposed to. Because a lot of places we do, as principals, we tend to. If there's a guardian complaint, principal sir se milna hai, principal ma'am se milna hai. So there's no in-between link that we have. So directly प्रिंसिपल से बात करते हैं. स्कूल में कोई बच्चा किसी को चोट लगता है, प्रिंसिपल से मिलना है. But that incident happened in the class. So at the end of the day, as principals, we are standing as the spokesperson or the public relations officer for the entire brand that we stand for. So that's how we need to understand this situation. So the body platform, this goes back to July 6, 1988. This was an oil rig in Norway where the systems were supposed to be working completely fine because on an offshore oil rig, everything is calculated at what time which valve will be opened and shut. These things were there. However, there was a fire in which 167 people died, and that is the largest number of people dying in an offshore accident. Things, should we make some changes in our systems? Should we require new teachers, or should we hire new teachers? Should we advertise for admissions? Should we look at the BPL admissions, which I'm sure is the burning topic right now? I remember this same very hall, BSc Dhanbad was here, and we were asking this question that 25% of our seats in the entry classes are there. And I might be wrong, but I think Sir from DAV, Munidi had asked this question. That, Sir, हम लोग के जब starting class में बच्चा admission normal general category में नहीं हुआ, तो 25% कैसे हम लोग decide करेंगे? So how do we keep a track of these things? How many of us as principals are worried to know that what is the number of students that we have? So the Burning platform teaches us one thing, that things which are going on as normal or looks normal is not always normal. So what are the decisions? So I would now throw this question to the house to find out what are the few changes that you all have done in the last 3 years now. This is the third year that we are into COVID. So what are the few changes that we've made into our management system or the school administration to ensure continuity of business? Technology-wise, we have all upgraded ourselves. Anybody else? Technology schools have taken this step to provide students with Android phones or smartphones to do their online classes. We can't afford that. That's outside our support boundaries. Right? Yes, we can send notes. So one was technology, ma'am.
More communication with parents and students.
So how do you do that, sir?
By calling them by the WhatsApp group, and sometimes it might be possible that to few schools, even the non-teaching staffs have been sent to the house of the.
So our outreach to our stakeholders increased. We had to increase it because nobody was coming to school. Neither were teachers, neither were principals, but we had to increase our outreach and communications with our stakeholders.
Different areas and made them in charge of those areas. Any parents should consult them if they have any problem regarding the notes and any doubts.
Okay, so again I will categorize that under communication. I increase the communication where I can see and keep in touch with our stakeholders.
Recommend Paytm are organized.
Like online PTMs were organized?
Online, offline both.
Online, offline both?
Offline both,
Okay,
PTM are
okay.
organized so that we can convince.
Get a
we can-
feedback as to
Yeah,
how
yeah.
things were going. So good. So we did that. So if we look at it, till now we have 4 points, out of which 3 points are talking about communication only. Reduce that maintenance cost. Financially, teachers who were not equipped enough to conduct online classes, they were given offline work to prepare. We did not, as schools and as an education industry, we do not remove people. We retain people because people are our strength. So people who were not able to communicate online were given offline tasks, preparing documents, notes, which were shared.
They were trained to do
They were trained, of course. So one thing which is coming out is that a lot of things that we were not doing initially, now we are doing it very, very consciously. Today, as principals, if you do not see in your WhatsApp groups at say about 8 o'clock in the evening, the notes or the invite for the next day classes, you call the coordinator, don't you? We also have, I'll tell you why, because I've just moved back into corporate. So we have something, when we start our day, we have a daily huddle. So it's a daily huddle where all the team members are there. So for me, I will have all my 172 trainers on the call, on a bridge, discuss what is the things that we have for today, what are the things that we need to do for tomorrow, and where did we lag yesterday. So we have targets. Here we don't have targets, but we have classes, we have students. So I'm sure each one of you as principals have been asking these questions about the attendance of our students in the classes. Is that a concern to all of us? Because the attendance is also showing, and if we notice, the first year was difficult, initial 6 months of the lockdown was difficult to have everybody come online through different groups. But after that, those 6 months, we were able to understand that now we can conduct those classes online. But now, after 1.5 years, the concern is students are coming. What is the outcome of that online class? Online examinations, offline examinations, we've been able to conduct. Classes 9 to 12 can come to school. So, have you ever thought, how is your management also helping you in this? Or your school's administrative body helping you with this? Is that a question that you have asked yourself? Probably as principals, we've jumped into everything. And at times we are stressed out thinking, कि अगला दिन कैसे जाएगा? Everything, starting from the fees coming into school, starting from the attendance, the teachers' attendance, the staff attendance, you have jumped into everything. I have jumped into everything because I was also part of this just a few months ago. And we all have a school managing committee, right? We all have an administrative body which is also supposed to take care of this. Sir, good morning. Before I show this slide, I want you to tell me what are the major functions of the school administration? What is it supposed to do?
not to keep everybody on toes.
To keep everybody on their toes.
Yes.
Okay.
Take everybody to.
Take everybody into consideration, starting principal, vice principal, coordinator, teachers, staff,
Yes.
the finance team, everybody. So, overall, keeping everybody on their toes. Any more ideas?
The devolution of power.
Very good. Delegation of what's to be done and charts a course of action for the future. Where are we now? How are we doing now? Whom should we appoint to have those tasks done? When and to where? When will I don't see a lot of heads being nodded.
Yeah.
I think it is because we are the sole authority who think of this planet. But is it actually my job?
Everybody is responsible.
Everybody's responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's the principal who's standing there and facing that situation of planning. But, so the takeaway point here will be planning. Can I also have my school managing committee members take a decision on this? Or help me take that decision?
Definitely, sir. School management should also be brought into confidence.
Right? We should. So, now I'm sorry, but a lot of schools are very structured, like Delhi Public, DAV schools. You all have a very good structure in which you follow. Schools like ours, there are a lot of decisions which we tend to burden ourselves with. However, we don't involve our management. So, at the end of the day, the person who's going to be answerable is going to be the principal. Because it was your decision. Next is organizing. So who organizes things? It is principals again who organize things. But can we not ask our managing committee members also help us organize? Some of the cases, most of the cases, we are our own managing committee. But why should I be the only person taking decisions on behalf of a school which has a strength of 600 plus or 500 plus students? मैं अकेला क्यों करूं? There should be people responsible as well. Why alone myself? Next point, organizing, where we have defining roles and responsibilities and arranging, coordinating resources needed to successfully carry out the plans. So organizing also is telling us to identify people who can do things. Most of the places in real time, see, difference between training and the reality is it's virtual world, which is supposed to be like this. However, the reality is something else. So in those situations, I have this question of organizing. A lot of times, I as a principal felt that this particular teacher of mine is excellent. So I will give him or her this responsibility, plus this, plus this, plus this. And I'm actually burning out that teacher or that person who has taken responsibility. I was not able to identify as a principal who was the person who should also do or assist this particular teacher. क्योंकि जो ज्यादा काम करता है उसी को ज्यादा काम मिलता है। जो आपका फोन सबसे ज्यादा उठाएगा आप उसी से काम करवाएंगे। जो आपका फोन नहीं उठाता छोड़ो उसको हटाओ। धोना है धो के ले जाएंगे।
Because we have a deadline. No?
We have a deadline. But ma'am, this is where we are thinking about this. I have a deadline. I cannot meet that deadline alone. I need my team's participation to meet that deadline. And that responsibility has to be done in that planning portion, where I tell that person that this is what you will be responsible for. End of the day, I need that report from you, or end of the day, I need a feedback from you. Because I have to report this back to my management. Now we are all struggling. हमें को सब करना है. So principal has become the main center of attraction. जितना negative, positive जो भी आता है, principal ही face करता है. But we don't have people accountable for those things. Next, we have staffing. It's also related to organizing. Staffing will be more of who does what work. So, if we have a teacher who's done really well in the junior section or in the middle school section, can we not identify or rotate that coordinatorship with that teacher? Because in these dry times, when we don't have students sitting in our class, we cannot afford to show people what is directing. All of us here need to direct our people. Because without directions, instructions, it's like a headless ship which is roaming around. So the direction which comes in, directing which comes in, so as the subject matter expert, as a principal who's sitting in that chair, you know the business inside out. There's nothing new for you to know. But for you to identify that particular staff to do a particular thing is more important. I'm sure all of us have one or two staff members in our school who we blindly would rely on. Whether it's 11 o'clock at night, whether it's 6 in the morning, if I call that person will respond to my call. So why isn't that ownership with everybody else? Why should I call that person at 11 o'clock because of somebody else not doing their work on time? So these are things which I would want all of us to think about. Next is coordinating can be achieved through effective communication and good leadership. So when coordinators are doing their work, but are the coordinators also responding back to you on time? Do you have the time to see that report? Is there an Excel sheet or is there any format, a Word document which you see that this is a daily report that they send to me. For example, right now what I do is I send my boss in the US the daily login hours, how many people have clocked in what time. I tell them what is our current scores. I tell them what is our the service level agreement that we've met. And that goes in beginning of the day, middle of the day, and end of the day. So if I, being a training and development head, can do that for my boss, why won't your coordinators do that for you? I mean, they're doing. So that is why, because you have, right, and you have also done that because you're organizing it well, you've planned it well. So a lot of us have not been able to cope up with this change. So I am doing the planning, I am doing the work, I am doing the staffing, I am doing the coordinating. End of the day, when I go to sleep, I have to take sleeping pills and sleep. Pressure high, sugar high. So that is the reality. But if I go back and see if these are the points, these are all that we know. But if these points we can keep it in our mind or make a note or ask people and ask them to give a written document. This is what I want from time to time. It will make your job easy. That there's a word called governance which is there. So where is that governance? Today's school administration, most of the private schools are facing a challenge because of the governance factor. During the lockdown, I don't think any of the teachers initially they did face. However, we also had online options of teaching or conducting tuitions. We did not have that sufficient buffer created. People spoke about, I remember that term, reserve fund se kyun nahi paisa de rahe. And a lot of them did not know that reserve fund is not supposed to be used to pay salaries. Reserve fund का right DC के पास है, school के management के पास है. That is a reserve fund to be used. But in the papers we read, reserve fund होते हुए भी school fees के लिए दबाव बनाया जा रहा है. So little knowledge is also dangerous. Right? So coordinating is one of them. The next one that I have is reporting. Reporting is crucial. If you are not yet asking your teachers to report into you, please make sure that you ask them even a paragraph of the entire day's synopsis to be shared with you. That will tell them how are we doing the reporting. Is there anything called a reporting system?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the few points that you have in that report?
Topics.
Last, any challenges faced during that? Okay, so is that coming to you on a regular basis, daily basis? Excellent. Excellent. Next is budgeting. This part is something which is very dicey. कहाँ से budget fix करें? Already it is showing minus something. So how do I move into positive? So that is actually to be done, expressed in financial terms and based on expected income and expenditure. This is something where we use a lot of our head. Where is my managing committee? Let them also decide that. That is what the role of the managing committee is, to provide me that fund. I don't know how clear the slide is. So this is just a sample school org structure that I have created. This is just like a flow chart. So if at the bottom you see there is something called L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. So L1 to L5 are the escalation matrices that are put in place. If a student or a parent has a problem, who do they reach out to? To the class teacher. But most of the time we see it goes straight under this gentleman or this lady who's sitting here. Your teacher is not teaching properly. She is giving too much of homework to my child. So why will the principal be there? When during our parent-teachers meets or the online interaction, the communication that we have with our parents or our stakeholders, we can talk about, reach out to the teacher, send a draft or a note. From there, the coordinators will look into it. If the teacher can solve it, fine. If the coordinator can solve it, fine. If they fail, then I am there. And in Bihar, Jharkhand, we also have the situation where the Managing committee also helps in solving problems. जान पहचान के हैं तो मैं सीधा चेयरमैन से बात करूंगा, डायरेक्टर से बात करूंगा. So how do we stop that? That is, see, because it's not the job of the principal to take care of a situation. For example, somebody got hurt during the class, or during the online class somebody had an altercation with another student. That is supposed to be controlled by your teacher. But why will you get into it? That means the teacher who was there was not able to handle it. That's why it came up to you. Your coordinator in between was not communicated. सीधा आपके पास भेज दे. So instead of getting into everything, let us choose in what things we need to get into administration for. So here we have teachers, librarians, sports teachers, coaches, counselors who report into coordinators. So I have divided them into junior school, senior school. The coordinator will then report to the principal as to what was the daily interaction. So my reporting structure should be teacher to coordinator, coordinator to principal. Most of the places we have teacher to principal. Pramod ji और मुझे teacher to management. बीच में कुछ है ही नहीं हम लोग का. So that is why we have to see this coordinator. Now let's look at this section which is here. The principal के साथ कौन-कौन काम करता है? Sorry? Admin. So I've divided them into again 3 different heads. First is the admin, who takes care of the principal's office, any issues with the principal's office. Something like the principal's secretary or PA. Then we have the examination cell. CBSE ने हम लोग का एग्जामिनेशन सेल को कितना स्ट्रॉन्ग कर दिया. सब चीज अपने तरफ से कर रही है. हम लोग हैं. शाहरुख खान वाला डायलॉग मैं हूं ना. So this is where the examination cell, and also I've added something called the board public relations officer. Do you think it's time that we have somebody represent our schools in front of the CBSE board, somebody that is responsible? As a principal going and standing in front, yes, if it's a function or something like a teacher's program, we can have all the principals here because that's protocol. RO is coming, so we all have to be here. However, can we identify somebody who would be that responsible to take up, to build that trust factor? Let them also see it is not easy as a principal to go and address questions asked by the board all the time. When teachers goof up during an examination, while filling up the OMR sheet, it's the center superintendent who's sitting till 9 o'clock at night to see what was missed. Right, Ravi sir?
Yeah.
It happens. Whether it's CTET exams, whether it is our CBSE board examinations, it is the center superintendent and the PA who's sitting and going through those many thousand some forms where attendance was not captured properly. Teachers सब चले गए घर. So what do we do? Next day we write a note. Please meet me in the office. What happened? Oh, sir, गलती हो गई. उससे ज़्यादा हम क्या बोलेंगे? Right? So we have admin, exam cell, and a board PR. It's up to you if you want to keep that board PR or not. Then I have the head of maintenance, which takes care of your transport, IT team, and also the manager. The manager who takes care of, or the estate manager kind of a person who takes care of your housekeeping, security, fire safety, all these things. Right now, how many of us are going and asking the gardener, यहाँ पे फूल लगाओ या कुछ करना है?
We do it. We do it.
That is because we love flowers, we love gardening. That is why. That is okay. But there are schools also where I have to arrange for the gardener कि यहाँ पे आके लगाओ. Reality वैसा भी होता है. And plumber टैंक लीक कर रहा है. अच्छा प्रिंसिपल सर को फोन लगा दे सर प्लम्बर भेजे क्या? प्रिंसिपल सर हाँ. ट्रांसपोर्ट टीम सुबह सुबह बस मैडम सर गाड़ियां नहीं आया अभी तक बच्चा उठाने. क्यों? क्योंकि आपका नंबर उनके पास था. तो these are the actual facts that we go through. So we need to now delegate whether a school is small, big, large, extra large. The point is that are we delegating or do we have the right? Exactly, ma'am. A lot of places, schools have clerks or people who draft letters for you to the education department or somewhere or the other. But here, most of the time, we only draft it. है बंदा करने वाला लॉक में से लॉक दिखाओ अरे क्या लिख दे इसमें ये लिखो तो 2 बार वो लेके वापस आके खोद के थर्ड टाइम मैं से लेट इट बी आई विल डू इट मैं करके दूं राइट सर ये हो रहा है क्योंकि I probably and that is not under my control because I did not hire that guy मेरा काम था उसको कोच करना उसको बताना कि ये चिट्ठी में ये जाना है For example, the BPL records. I really like the way that DAV schools take care of the BPL records. Sir, आप लोग के पास 2011 में जो बच्चा आया था, वो कब निकला, कौन से क्लास तक पढ़ा, DAV, DPS, KV, they maintain that. 9 में BPL क्लास आ गया. 9 में BPL मतलब हम लोग सरकार से भी ऊपर. Yes, that was supposed to be done by my accountant. जो फीस कलेक्ट कर रहा है 8 के बाद जब child came into class 9 had to be informed that your BPL राशि खत्म, now you get into school राशि. 9 में जाके उसका फीस स्ट्रक्चर देखते हैं, why is this student defaulted? नहीं सर BPL में. And after 7 months, when you are doing that audit for 6 months, how can you ask that guardian to pay that fees? Whose fault was it? तो किसके पॉकेट से गया? प्रिंसिपल के पॉकेट से जाएगा. Because your management will say, I never told you to take a BPL student in class 9. And it was your mistake getting placed because a lot of times we do require that. Right? Then we have the principal who's all in all, in responsibilities. I have tried to jot down 4 or 5 points. However, there are multiple responsibilities that we take care of. So, here, this is what the level 1 to level 5 is. If something which is not under your control, mine was a school which went through a POSCO situation. So that is not under my control also. My management has to step in. Of course, it was a false situation. However, that has to be taken care of because that is not under my control always. There are certain decisions, for example, approval for that. We cannot take that decision all by ourselves. In schools like mine, and chacha, यहाँ पे tax से बचना है, तो प्रमोद जी चलिए आप एक तलाव करिए, हम भी एक तलाव करें. वो सब हम लोग करते हुए आ रहे थे या करते थे, but that was not right. That is planning, directing, organizing, controlling human and material resources is an education in an education setting. So we do the planning part, we do the directing part, we do controlling of people and material resources. How many classrooms we use for an exam? Because there were certain areas where BCCL was there, hence we required this to cater to these people that we have. There are schools also, like private public schools like ours, next to DAVs, next to DPAs. So what is the purpose? Has your management been able to identify that or underline that purpose and objective of opening that school? Or was it just black to white? I hope you all understand black to white. So, frames policies to govern the school resources. It is not the principal, it will be your management with the principal who will decide that governance policy. Because most probably the management is not that technically sound when it comes to school or running the functioning of the schools. Unfortunately, why I put this point here, ma'am, is because that a lot of school managing committees do not allow principals to take that call. Principals are not involved in that. जो है लिखा हुआ उसी को follow करो. अब कैसे करो? That is not what I as a principal think should be there, but it has to be followed. So, lays down structure of the organization. You will tell me who I report to, who reports into me, rather than me making that plan and giving it to you. आप बताइए, then it will be coming straight from the horse's mouth to me, and this is not my decision that you will report to me. This is the management decision. Prescribes the, do we or all of us use that क्या सर release order? वो release order नहीं होगा, then you might not be able to keep a track of दिन में कितना डीजल आया. आप कितने बार अपना वॉलेट से हजार रुपए निकाल के देते रहेंगे. सीबीएसई का जो अभी ऑनलाइन जो एग्जाम हुआ वो एमआर शीट वाला, उसमें तो रात को 8-9 बजे तक बैठ के काम किया. We are so lucky people here don't ask for OT. जहाँ पे मैं अभी हूँ 9.5 hours after that meter चालू. But at my level that meter doesn't get चालू. वो तो काम पूरा 16 घंटा 18 घंटा कोई बात नहीं. Right? So provides finances and other material resources, provides personal, lays down standards. Why I say provides personal is because you will identify how many teachers you require. You will identify how many staff members you require. If you need to reduce somewhere staff members, you will tell your management. It is their decision. It is not your decision. But हम लोग उसमें घुस जाते हैं. नहीं, पहले वाले प्रिंसिपल सर अच्छे थे, अभी वाले प्रिंसिपल अच्छे नहीं. हम लोग नौकरी खा रहे. पहले हम वहाँ पे अकाउंट सेक्शन में बैठते थे, मुझे हॉस्टल वाला सेक्शन देखने को मिलता. So why should I take the blame? Let management only decide that. Then we have provides good professional leadership, stimulates and energizes. This doesn't happen in reality. The managing committee members or the administration does not provide that energy. They just say, go do it. We do it. So it is actually we as principals who do the energizing part, motivating part and leadership वाला जो तुमको चाहिए वो हम लोग कर रहे हैं. But have somebody or speak to somebody from your management who would be interested in this. Because at the end of the day, it is the returns which they are getting because of your team and your team's effort. So can we have them also involved in this discussion? हो सकता है वो कभी-कभी अच्छा तुम लोग ये क्या चलो मेरे तरफ से लंच नहीं होता है, वो तुम ही करो. Right? So moving on, there is a quote here, and I'm sorry because of the slide. It says, patiently you mentor and lead, and sharing wisdom and meeting each need, support and advice you will willingly supply on you the staff pupils can rely. So that is where I've highlighted the role of a principal. There are a lot of things that we speak, we do, we motivate people. So principal roles, planning of the school programs and activities, that we definitely do. Directing school work and formulating and executing educational policies. That is why NEP quiz, Suraj sir will be taking NEP training programs that is there. So the principal has to decide when and how these policies should be implemented. Coordinating administrative and supervisory activities. Administrative and supervisory activities. Most of the time the reality is we ourselves become supervisors. We don't go into that activity or analyze that activity, but we ourselves become supervisors. तो फिर आपने उसको क्यों रखा है? अगर वो नहीं कर पा रहा है तो उसको काम करवाना पड़ेगा. So that is something which you can think about. Providing necessary leadership. Leadership in the sense, why should a leader provide leadership? You are already leading your team. Apart from that, how do you identify leaders amongst your team members?
Find the next leader within the organization.
Correct. So are we talking, sorry sir, are we talking about creating a backup?
Yes, creating a backup.
Because it's very crucial nowadays. The situation is every second, third day we have somebody infected, somebody down with fever. So in case if one of my teachers is not there in class 4 or class 5 to conduct the English class, is there a senior teacher who can? Here they can take a maternity leave of up to 10 months. Unfortunately, the time when they were hired, they never informed me of this. So where do I stand now with 4 ladies being on maternity leave and my work being pending? So instead of those 4, I had to divide that same task into 8 more people of my team. So I need to create that backup. So there will be unseen circumstances which we cannot control all the time, but we need to be ready with a backup plan, is what the idea here is. Decision making is definitely one of the biggest things that we do. A lot of times we have to take decisions on behalf of our teachers, on behalf of our management, on behalf of yourself also, if that is right or wrong. So a lot of times we
Of different individuals. I think the entire administration
will be very smooth. Sure, sir. Like I said, that is the virtual or the actual world that we want to be.
But that doesn't
But
happen.
our
It
challenges,
does not happen.
right? Our challenges,
We need to supervise that.
right? So that is where planning comes into place. That is where staffing comes
It's
into place.
difficult.
Initially,
But it's a difficult, but being the principal or the head of the school, you are supposed to take care of it.
Right. So that is where, sir, that is where we said there are roles which the management has to take. The management will have to tell you that this is your role, you will supervise this. But a lot of places, the management already has a team. You go take care of it. And you might not be able to make those changes. So if you're saying that it's not, nothing is impossible. So for that, you might have to spend 3 months time, 2 months time to get that data in place. And I have a question here. I'm sure I didn't do it when I was a principal in school. A lot of schools do it. In that questionnaire, there is a part of the appraisal of teachers as well.
we have that.
Right?
Agree.
So the appraisal is a system which helps us understand as a principal where does my teacher stand. 3 साल पहले भी I was teaching class 9. अभी 3 साल बाद भी I am still saying I will teach history in class 9. So where did you grow? How did you grow? Are you comfortable in that zone? I don't like working with people who are comfortable in the place where they are. They need to adapt to change because our education system industry is such that because it has to change. A student cannot join nursery or KG1 and remain there after 12 years also. We are in that development phase, hence that person has to change. So we'll talk about that, sir. Evaluating the teachers' personal and school programs. How do we evaluate our teachers? Yes, sir. No, sir. Very good, sir. Good teacher.
No,
Productive.
observation.
I remember one thing which one of my mentors, yes, the student feedback is very, very crucial. A lot of times interacting with your students will tell you or give you the correct feedback for a particular teacher. He or she might come across as very genuine, very hardworking, very dedicated in front of you, but the students will never lie. Right? So having those interactions with your students or just a questionnaire, how is this teacher? Not pinpointing a particular teacher, overall feedback from the different subjects that they have. So keeping records and reporting results. I'm sure all of us do send a lot of reports. Sir, in DAV you will have a lot of reporting which has to be done on a daily basis. Every half an hour or something you will have to send news. Even in DPS?
No.
मैम doesn't know that. But हम लोग के अपने सिस्टम में जैसा है रिपोर्ट भेजना है ठीक है वो जब ऑडिट होगा उस टाइम पे
Once in a month.
and but now you have somebody taking care of those records. हम लोग का वो भी नहीं है and we are जब वो ऑडिट होता था बट अच्छा ऐसा भी था सीए जब आता है तो क्या किए सर आप लोग ऐसे तैसे ले लिए आप लोग कोई रसीद नहीं दिए जीएसटी नहीं पे किए तो कैसे हो अच्छा ये पता नहीं था देखिए क्या उपाय लगाया जा सकता है
But so many reports, all the school had to send it to DSC.
राइट वो भी तो है सर सो अब एक और चीज है डीएससी ऑफिस में जहां तक रिपोर्टिंग का बात है एक ही रिपोर्ट आपको 6 बार भेजना पड़ता
Yes.
है so that is why what I did was whichever document was required in the DSC office I always made 6 copies of it क्योंकि फिर 2 महीना बाद मांगे बीपीएल एडमिशन रिकॉर्ड्स 2011-12 से जो शुरू हुआ था अभी भी मांगते रहे and I think last year every school has given that report to them तो वो डॉक्यूमेंट गया था is it with some media house who's publishing कि इतना सिर्फ बच्चा एडमिशन हुआ इसका इन लोगों को पैसा मिल चुका है नहीं मिला है.
Actually, they save their time. Whenever they require, send the message to us.
So that's also a way of governance. ठीक है, आपको ये चाहिए. Let us get the reports. In all government setup, that will be the thing. If you say that, sir, I have sent you this report, can I get a copy of it? Okay, let me send a request. It will come. A way of avoidance, but in our structure in private schools, public schools, we cannot have that avoidance as a thing. नहीं तो छोटा सा चीज बहुत बड़ा हो जाता है. Right? And then I have ... because principal role cannot be defined in one slide or in one program, because every single day there will be a new responsibility or role which comes up for a principal. Right? So I'm sure that this administrative workshop is also for us to identify, understand a few things that we were doing, what we could do better, or if something is missing, can we go back and implement that in our work, in our daily life, if that makes our life a little easier. But the bottom line or the moral of the story is very simple. As principals, we should avoid getting into everything which is not your cup of tea. Don't get into it. There are people who should be answerable for that. You should not go ahead and do it. Ask them for those reports. I now have a questionnaire. Ma'am, if you could just share that, please. So this has got nothing to do with fail or pass. Sir, fail pass वाला कुछ नहीं है. OMR देख के मुझे थोड़ा लगा कि मैं भी कुछ ऐसा करवा दूँ. This is just for you can look at appraisals from a school perspective. Because ज़्यादातर appraisals जो होता है, that is basically on the management scale. But this is also part of management. School management is also a very serious business, because here we have stakeholders who are below 18. So each one of us as principals, coordinators, we are sitting in a very hot seat, because anything under 18 can lead you into a situation which you might not. Okay, so I have questions like I make sure that the professional development activities of never seldom, quite often, very often. I know the obvious answer will be very often. But मैं तो कर ली हूँ. That type of thing. I ensure that the teachers work according to the school's educational goals. So does your school also have an educational goal? Are the teachers aligned to that educational goal at all? Online classes to observe instructions in classrooms. I use student performance results to develop the school's educational goals. I give teachers suggestions as to how they can improve their teaching. I monitor students' work. When a teacher has problems in his or her classroom, I take initiative to discuss this matter. So there are a lot of these questions which just be honest, answer those questions and see if we can make a few changes in the way that we look at. Excellent, your blood pressure, sugar, BP, everything will be fine. If it is 100%, you know the reason why you have sugar, pressure and all of this. Right? So internal administrative tasks, including human resource, personal issues, regulations, reports, school budgets, timetable. How much time do you spend on that? 30-35%. Curriculum and teaching related tasks, including teaching, lesson preparation, classroom observations, mentoring teachers. 30-40, whatever the code is. Responding to requests from district, state, national education officials. 10 से ज़्यादा नहीं. 10% से ज़्यादा नहीं. अगर इसमें आपका स्कोर मतलब 30 से ज़्यादा है, then you know why we need a public relations officer. Representing the school at meetings or in the community and networking. 10% maximum. Other 5%. So if your score is also going above 110, you know that you have to reduce a lot of जैसे हम लोग Six Sigma बोलते हैं lean technology. There is a lot of things which you need to get leaner. So that is something which you will have to think about. How often during the last 5 years did your school produce a school self-evaluation document? I am sure all schools do it. It's important for your stakeholders to know where exactly the school stands, and that gets carried over also. So वो copy paste वाला situation जो है, just see as a person with a third eye that no, these are not the right figures. So where somewhere where we have not done well, for example, right now most of the schools will have this problem of finances.
That is the root cause of all problems.
Right. तो अगर मेरा स्कूल का expenses इतना है in 2020-21, मेरा income कितना है, that report also should go to the parents. That is where they will realize that I had to pay a fee, which I delayed. None of the schools have charged late fee. It was there in our structure. But none of the schools have charged late fee. COVID hai, COVID. Did we not pay penalties while paying our taxes after the date?
200%.
200%.
I have said.
Yes,
Right? So these are some questions which we need to think of. That's why that burning platform example was shared with all of you. I hope with this I come to the end of this school administration part. However, I think this last 1 hour has been able to help you identify areas of opportunities for yourselves. Things that we have been doing well, things that we could do better. The purpose of this training intervention was to see that we are able to identify where I stand. So that planning part, now, where, how, when, where. Where do I stand? How do I take this forward? Right? So with that, thank you very much to everyone for being so patient listeners. Also, a big thank you to our Chairman Sir, Mr. N. Srivastav, Vice Chairman Sir, Mr. Ravi Tiwari, for inviting me on short notice. So this presentation was prepared yesterday. In case if there have been any errors or anything which you think should be added to this, please feel free to reach out. My new phone number has changed, so that would be 914708.
Once again, sir.
914708 5999. Exciting, energetic Sahodaya group that we have. There are a lot of.
So I will add you in the Sahodaya group for your
No,
number.
no, sir.
Director should be there.
No, no. I get the information. I get. मेरे पास दूसरे दिन बाद में बोलूँगा. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good rest of the day. Command and control. The real goal of leadership is climate control, creating a climate of possibilities. So that is a note that I would like to leave you with. So I've got 2 minions. Let's hope this year from April we start with a new academic year in a new way and do all the best to all of you. Thank you.